What is going on, guys? Pineapple Swayers. I'm bringing you guys sort of an infamous tier list where I'll be going through all of the infamous gear in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Well, not necessarily the gear, but the tiers, and telling you which ones are really good and which ones, just aren't good. If you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing. I've had a lot of you guys asking me about this, like what gear should I be running, since I know it's pretty confusing since there is a lot of gear and it can get a little overwhelming. So this is going to be a long video, but I will split it into chapters of finite, episode 1, so on and so forth, so you guys know what chapter to go to, so you know what gear is good or not. And we have it spread out into 6 tiers. We have the best of the best, will carry in high mastery, needed for a loadout, serviceable, not reliable but can work, and then the last tier, why are you running this? Starting with Bane's finite crisis gear, there is tier 1 Bane. This is best of the best because of its one-piece bonus. Each melee hit on an enemy has a 50% chance to craze it and a 50% chance to drop grenade ammo. Honestly, the 2-piece and a 3-piece bonus you don't really have to worry about, but if you're running something like the Bane Neck Bomb or even the Lucky Charm, preferably the Neck Bomb so you can match it with the Poison Ivy gear set, it is the best of the best, so that is why tier 1 Bane goes into the best of the best tier because of its tier 1 bonus, its piece 1 bonus. Next on the list for finite crisis gear is tier 2 Bane. This is not great, but I will put it in serviceable. You're going to want to have the 3-piece bonus for this. When you kill a crazed enemy or an enemy you craze kills another enemy, you trigger a stack of Bane's Wrath. This lasts for 60 seconds and increases the damage you deal by 50% up to a maximum of 750%. Then there's a 50% chance to trigger Bane's Wrath when you craze an enemy that's below 100% health. This is serviceable. It's not great. It's not bad either. Like what I said, I just put it in the serviceable tier. So, but like what I said, you're going to want to run the 3-piece bonus for it, and preferably you're going to want to run probably the shield, the neck bomb, and then a weapon to pair up with it, preferably the assault rifle, in my honest opinion. Next is tier 3 Bane, and this is another one that is, I would say, will carry in high mastery. It's in the fine line of it's needed for a loadout and will carry in high mastery. This is basically the best loadout for a traversal spam build, and you're going to want to run 3-piece bonus with this one. All enemies hit with traversal attacks become crazed, and each enemy killed while Bane's Fury is active generates 10% traversal attack resource. Killing an enemy with a traversal attack immediately gives you 5 stack of Bane's Fury. This was pretty reliable back in Season 0, and a good way to get to about Mastery 200 in Finite Crisis. Now moving on to the Two-Face season, the Scarecrow season, and we'll be talking about the gear here, starting with tier 1 Scarecrow. This is another one of best of the best, but only because of its 1-piece bonus. Critical hits apply poison to the enemy hit. Honestly, do not bother with its 2-piece or its 3-piece bonus, in my opinion. Next for Scarecrow is tier 2 Scarecrow. This one I will put in serviceable. I can never get it to work for me, but you're going to want to run the 3-piece bonus with this one because it increases the grenade capacity by 2 in the Season of Fear. And once Embracing Terror reaches 5 stacks, you trigger Shaped by Terror, which increases your damage you deal to poison enemies by 500% for 60 seconds. This is reliable with the 3-piece bonus. And you're going to probably want to run the shield, neck bomb, and then probably one of the guns. And that'll complete your 3-piece bonus. But I will put it in the serviceable tier. And then there is Nightmare. This is in the bottom of the bottom. Like, this is in the why are you running this tier. This just doesn't work. It gives you a 35% or a 3,500% damage boost, hypothetically. But you take so much damage, it's just not even worth it. And there's better alternatives than this. It is just not good, and it is something that you just shouldn't bother with in this game. And if you get a tier 3 of Scarecrow, I would just discard it and not worry about it. Now moving on to Two-Face, and let's look at the infamous gear for Two-Face. First is tier 1 Two-Face, and this one I would put in serviceable. And what you're going to really want to run for this one is its 3-piece bonus. Obviously, killing burning enemies has a 50% chance of causing a fiery explosion that burns enemies within 25 meters, increases critical hit chance by 100% on enemies that are both punished and burning. So, like I said, serviceable, it's good, not great, but it's not bad either. And its 2-piece bonus is also really nice, but if you want to get the full effect, run the 3-piece bonus. Next is Two-Face Tier 2, Trial by Fire. This is best of the best, and not because of its 3-piece bonus. You're going to want to run the 1-piece bonus. After an enemy you burn has been burning for 5 seconds, they take 10% of their max health as damage. This cannot happen until the enemy stops burning. This is probably the best piece in the game. This is something I ran in every single season because it was just reliable and good in every single season. Next is Tier 3, Two-Face. And in all honesty, this is going to go in the why are you running this tier. This is not good. I wouldn't bother running it. Maybe there's someone out there that can make it at least serviceable, but from what I've seen, it is not good, and I wouldn't bother running it. Now moving on to episode 3, Frozen Hearts, starting with Tier 1, Killer Frost. This one, in my opinion, goes in for will carry in high mastery, and that is because of the 1-piece bonus, and specifically because of the Frozen Hearts bonus. Heat absorption stacks up to 20 times, and it provides basically a 100% damage boost as long as you have stacks of heat absorption, and it can be pretty useful in my opinion. Although with the Killer Frost gear, you're going to want to combine it with the Tier 2, which is why I would say Tier 1 in its own right isn't great, which is why I put will carry in high mastery if you're running the right stuff. Next is Tier 2, and Tier 2 I put in serviceable. I ran this. I had a nice build with this, but the only problem with this and why I have it in the serviceable tier is because each enemy you kill when Frozen Dreams is active extends the duration of Frozen Dreams by 1 second, and Frozen Dreams is a good bonus because, you know, you get 1,000% more damage, but it drains all of your shield, so you're prone to basically just getting one-shotted, and it can be a little tedious to try and ramp up. So I will put Tier 1 and will carry in high mastery because of the heat absorption stacks, and then Tier 2 goes in serviceable. And then there is Tier 3 Killer Frost, which I would put in best of the best because of its Tier 1 bonus. Each second spent within 20 meters from a burning enemy adds a stack of heat absorption, which increases your damage dealt by 25% for 30 seconds. Heat absorption can now stack up to 10 times. So, therefore, that's where you get that Tier 3 bonus at, and that goes in the best of the best for Tier 3. But you only need the 1-piece bonus. Now, moving on to Captain Cold. Now, Captain Cold, this was the season that I played the least, but from what I can understand, I would say that the Tier 3 bonus, or the Tier 1 bonus, excuse me, the 3-piece bonus is going to be your best bet, and I'm going to put it in the will carry and high mastery tier, because of the killing a frozen enemy while cold aggression is active now has a 100% chance to drop grenade ammo, and frozen enemies take 1000% more damage from grenades while cold aggression is active. Then killing a frozen enemy causes it to explode into icicles, dealing 10% of its maximum health as damage to enemies within 20 meters. So that is the 3-piece bonus for Tier 1, and I put it in the will carry and high mastery tier. Next is Tier 2, and Tier 2, it's melee based, so I would have to put it in serviceable. Melee in this game in general is just not great, but if you are to run it, you would want to run the 3-piece bonus, just because it increases your melee damage by 2000%, and with the cold aggression stacks, it gives you a 200% damage dealt bonus across the board. Then there's the Cold Bomb, which is Tier 3, and I will put it in best of the best because this build is a Brainiac killer because of its Tier 3 bonus and its Tier 2 bonus, really. The Winter bonuses as well. Each time you detonate a Cold Bomb, your damage dealt is increased by 500% for 20 seconds up to a maximum of 2500%. Then each enemy frozen by the Cold Bomb explosion takes 500% more damage from all sources for 10 seconds, but this amount reduces by 50% for each second an enemy was frozen. Basically, it's just like a miniature stack deck that relies upon grenades, and this is really the ultimate killer build for Brainiac, which is why I put tier 3 killer for all, or Captain Cold in best of the best. Now moving on to Catwoman, season, or the Catwoman Infamous. First is tier 1, and honestly for this one I would put in best of the best because of its 3-piece bonus. Each enemy hit by grenades while Feline Grace is active increases your grenade damage by 150% up to a maximum of 1500%. Enemies hit by traversal attacks generate 1 stack of Feline Grace. And what sort of makes this really good is like what I said. The enemies hit by grenades while Feline Grace is active increases your damage. And shield harvesting encounters drop a live grenade. And then something else drops a live grenade too. I can't exactly remember. But you're going to want to run the 3-piece bonus if you're running tier 1 Catwoman, and it is best of the best. Specifically for her season, Catwoman is not great in really any other season, but it is amazing in her specific season. Next is tier 2. This one I would put in the why are you running this tier. So at the bottom, it's just not good, but if you were to run it, you're going to obviously want its 3-piece bonus. And basically, or no, sorry, it's 2-piece bonus. Traversal attacks, apply deep wounds, and make all enemies harvestable. I made a build about this a while ago, but it just wasn't great. And then same thing with the 9 lives. This is another one that I just put in the why are you running this. And in my honest opinion, don't mess with this at all. This is probably one of the worst gear sets or infamous sets in the game. And it's just not worth messing around with. Now moving on to Scoundrels, which features the tier 4 sets for Bane, Scarecrow, and Two-Face. Starting with tier 4 Bane, I would put this in Will Carry and High Mastery. Because of its 3-piece bonus, killing a crazed enemy puts you into hate state for 15 seconds, which makes you do 250% more damage and gain traversal attack, suicide strike, and affliction resource 25% faster. Each crazed enemy you kill while having hate refreshes the duration and adds an additional stack of hate up to a maximum of 8 stacks. And plus 2 of its 2-piece bonus, critical hits cause enemies to drop a live grenade at their feet upon death and craze all enemies within 15 meters, and then grenades deal 1000% more damage to crazed enemies. And then as well, each crazed enemy within 20 meters of you increases your firearm damage by 100% and your damage taken from all sources by 10%. So it is the Will Carry in High Mastery tier. And then there's tier 4 Scarecrow Endless Torment. This is in the not reliable but can work tier. It's not amazing, but if you're a good player, it can get it ramped up. It can be really good, and you're going to want to run its 3-piece bonus, but mostly because of the tier 2 bonus. Harvesting a poison enemy gives you Endless Torment. Each second you have Endless Torment, you lose 10% shield and do 150% more damage, up to a maximum of 3,000. This ends once your shield is fully depleted. In all honesty, all the Scarecrow sets are just not good. But you can also find a nice alternative of running just the 1-piece bonus, and poison enemies take 100% more damage from all sources. However, it would only work in episode 6, so be mindful of that. Next is tier 4 Two-Face. This is Suicide Strike tier, so it automatically goes in the why are you running this, or not Suicide Strike tier, Suicide Strike based. So it goes in the why are you running this tier, so wouldn't really bother, but if you were to run it, run a 3-piece bonus. Now, moving on to episode 7, the Gorilla Grodd theme season, starting with tier 1 Grodd Still Force Master. This goes in the not reliable but can work. Basically, standing still while Still Force Master is active increases your damage dealt by 2000% and makes all kills regenerate 25% shield, and then Suicide Strikes is increased by 1000%. The reason why I have it in the not reliable tier is because this game, you're always constantly moving. You're always on the run. You're always on the move. And this prevents that. So that's why I have it in the not reliable but can work tier. Tier 2, Mind Over Matter. This one is really good. I put it in the best of the best. And however, though, I would say you're going to need the 3-piece bonus for this. And basically, The main thing of why you're going to want to run this is because in episode 7 it increases your grenade capacity by 2, and then crazing an enemy gives you concentration, and then concentration increases your damage of your next grenade, traversal, suicide strike, or melee by 1000%. And then as well as mindfulness, and the little mindfulness zones will spawn when you kill enemies, and that increases your damage as well, and it gives you damage reduction. So best of the best tier. And then tier 3, Fist of Anger. This is not reliable but can work. This is melee based, and basically you're going to want to run the 3-piece bonus to get the most bang for your buck. When you reach the maximum amount of shards of anger, your health is fully restored, your shield is fully overcharged, and you gain Fist of Anger. Fist of Anger lasts for 30 seconds and increases your melee damage by 10,000% and has a chance to send enemies flying. However, if you don't kill enemies before Fist of Anger is over, you lose your shield and 99% of your health. Not reliable, but can work. Now moving on to the final gear set in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and that is Libra, starting with Tier 1 Libra. Tier 1 Libra I put in the serviceable tier, simply because you deal 1000% more damage or more traversal attack damage to enemies for each 10% of health that are missing. You can do like 200 mil traversal attacks, and if you are running Tier 1 Libra, you're going to want to run it with the 3-piece bonus to get the best experience. And then moving on to Tier 2 Justice. This one goes in the why are you running this tier. It is just not great. It is something that I wouldn't mess with. It's just not good, and basically it revolves around counters, and you're just not really going to be countering a whole lot in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and it also relies on suicide strikes. And counters and suicide strikes are just not going to be your main source of damage. And then there's Tier 3 Libra, which goes into the best of the best tier. However, you only need to run 1 piece for this, and basically, while your shield is below 50%, your damage dealt is increased by 10% for every percent of shield missing. While your shield is above 50%, your damage reduction is increased by 1% for every percent of shield you have above 50. Basically, to explain that in like simple terms, you're just going to do a ton of damage. There's no really other way to explain it. You don't really have to mess with the Tier 2 bonus or the 3-piece bonus, or the 2-piece or the 3-piece bonus. You just need the first piece and you'll be perfectly fine. And that kind of concludes this tier list for the infamous gear in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I try to explain it the best I can, but for new players who are playing the game, hopefully you stumble upon this video and you'll find out what gear is actually worth grinding for and, using to help you against a fight against Brainiac, and gear that's just not going to do anything for you and that you just should discard as soon as you get it. Anyways, this is Pineapple Sway. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace out.